does that conclude the presentation? Let's move on. I believe Representative Kennedy's here. Would you like to come forward? Talking about the American Fork Gondola. Welcome. Time is yours.
Thank you to the chairs and the committee for your indulgence in granting us some time. I have a guest with me, and actually I'll introduce a general concept and then turn the time over to my guest. This is a $500,000 ask. If any of you have been to American Fork Canyon, it's an amazing resource that includes Timpanogos National Cave Monument as well as Mount Timpanogos and Tibble Fork. It's a beautiful area. If you've never been there, I strongly recommend that you go there. We are asking for this money for a prospective future planning effort. And for that, I'll give the basic background and then turn it over to my guest. I was approached by this young man to my right about 3 months ago with a concept that I found to be fascinating, intriguing, and actually exciting as we talk about preservation of our natural resources. So this is Mayor Gygi from Cedar Hills, and I'll turn some time over to him so he can explain more about the concept.
Thank you, Representative Kennedy, and Chair's members of the committee. Thank you for letting us come before you. I appreciate Representative Kennedy calling me a young man. It's been a long time since someone has called me that. I appreciate that. So, as the mayor of a small town in northern Utah County, this is an issue that I think we have a lot of interest in. So I want to kind of set the table, if you will, about what's happening in northern Utah County and what we anticipate happening. So over the next 10 years, it's anticipated that the population is going to grow tremendously. Representative Christopherson knows well about this as he represents that area. And so cities like Lehigh, Highland, Saratoga Springs, Eagle Mountain, Eagle Ford are going to have tremendous growth. South end of the valley will as well, but that tremendous growth that's going to happen in that area is going to pose certain threats to certain assets that we know and love. So as that population grows, we know a lot of those people are going to want to recreate, and many of them are going to want to recreate up American Fork Canyon, which we think is terrific, and we welcome that. We think that's exciting, and so there's been broad support for the studies that we're talking about in terms of the county commissioners, the mayors of all the major cities that I've spoken with down there. The county commissioners group have talked about this quite a bit, but also the convention and visitor bureaus think this is exciting because that may open up conventions to come to Utah County that may not have come there before. Same thing with the chamber. The chamber think this is a great study as well because the private sector would love to be able to tell current employees or maybe potential employees, and I'm thinking about the employers out on SR 92 in northern Utah County, like the Exactwares, IM Flash, Adobe's, Microsoft's, who could say to those employees, you know, you can be recreating up the canyon in 20 minutes from where you currently are or where you currently live, because we think a lot of those people will live close to where they will be working as well. So because of that demographical change that we see taking place, we want to start planning for that and making sure that we're making wise decisions. So in concert with the Forest Service and the Park Service, who we've been talking to about this recently, I thought we had more time than what maybe we do, and that they're concerned about the capacity of the canyon in the next 2 to 3 years. I thought we probably had more like 5 to 10, but as people go up there to recreate, we always hope that they would take good care of the canyon, but people are using parts of the canyon or the mountain where they shouldn't be. So we want to talk about designated trails and areas where you can recreate and get a hold of the type of recreation that takes place up there. So the Forest Service likes to call this managed recreation, where we figure out what we want to do up the canyon in terms of the type of recreation and getting the private sector to help out with this. I know there's been a lot of talk about how we accomplish this, and so meeting with UTA last week, then ideas are talked about in terms of, do we widen the road? Do we create a train that goes up there? Is a gondola the best way of doing that? And so that's what we're trying to figure out. And so the process is we would like to do some environmental impact studies over the next couple of years, and those are called NEPA studies. And so some of the pre-NEPA studies would like to get started with this year, because certain studies you can only do once a year, and if you miss that opportunity, you're set back a year. So we want you to think about if you can find funds in order to allocate the studies, but also the public involvement is going to be incredibly important. in terms of having the residents have a serious say in terms of what they want to see happen up American Fork Canyon and how we protect the assets that are up there. So I've probably taken more than my time, but if you have questions, I'm happy to entertain them and resolve any issues or questions that you may have.
Thank you. Looks like we do have a question or two. Representative Undrig.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. What have your discussions been with UTA for access up and down that canyon?
Great question. I appreciate that. So at this point, they have said if there's demand, they want to help getting it up there, getting people up the canyon. So we spoke last week with the director of UTA, and so he says we're in the business of transporting people, whether it be by train, by bus, by car, bicycle, or even by gondola or whatever it is. That's what they're in the business of doing. So they're committed to trying to figure out what is the best way to get people up and down the canyon in the most effective way.
Now, this, my understanding is that you need to do an environmental impact study to even see what the best options might be.
That's correct.
Has there been any discussion about the interlinking aspect of the ski resorts up through multiple canyons, not just up American Fork Canyon in your discussions?
Yes, and so, I'm from Salt Lake, so I'm familiar with all the Salt Lake resorts a lot. And so, to a great extent, Snowbird and Alta are already linked. And so you can ski that. And so I know that Snowbird's talked about for probably close to 10 years of coming over the mountain and creating more terrain and access in the American Fork Canyon area. And so if we can get the private sector to help us figure this out, I think that's terrific.
Is it just one last question, Mr. Chair, and then I'll be done. So is there any, are you aware of any obstacles to private land and or environmentally sensitive areas up there that may impact this?
Right. And so a lot of the land on the east side is actually in private hands. Snowbird owns a lot of land up there. And so for argument's sake, let's say that there was a gondola that would take you from Tibble Fork up to the top. And so that would go across what's called wilderness as opposed to roadless. So the Forest Service said there's not a problem in terms of where it could possibly go.
Okay.
So the Forest Service thinks this is a great idea up to this point. Everyone is saying this is certainly worthy of study. No one is saying this is going to happen and this is how it's going to happen. We just know that we've got issues that are facing us in 10 to 15 years, and if we don't deal with them sooner than later, we're going to have a real problem in terms of this beautiful canyon, which we all recognize, and preserving it, yet allowing people to go up and recreate and really enjoy it. So,
well, for one, I like the idea. I'd love to open up Utah County to all those ski resorts, but you're doing the right step. We need to make sure that we do this the right way.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I mean, we really view this as a game changer for Utah County. We have one ski resort which we all love, but wouldn't it be terrific to have two? So.
Plus the jobs.
Thank you. Representative Hemingway.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think you just answered my question. I was going to ask you what is up there. I'm not familiar with it. Is there a ski resort up there?
Well, there are ski resorts certainly on the Salt Lake side. There, and then you can ski over in Mineral Basin on the Snowbird side. And so we don't know how this is going to shake out, Representative. All we know is that it's worthy of study, and if we can get the private sector to help us solve this problem, I love that idea. Private-public sectors, I think, are a good way to think, and that's the way that we're trying to think as well.
But say in the summertime, is it a place where people go to picnic and
absolutely
so forth and so on?
Yeah, we're talking about year-round recreation. We're not talking about winter recreation. So American Fork Canyon has some of the best terrain that you'll see. So people that'll go up there to mountain bike, to hike, to fish, to just go up there for a picnic. There's a ton of recreational opportunities that aren't just in the wintertime, but it's actually year-round recreation.
Thank you.
The other consideration that I'd add to that is just the reality of the entertainment value of riding over this land and looking around at it all. For those of us that may not mountain bike, hike, or horseback ride in the area, and it's an environmentally safe and protected fashion. Electrical transport, it doesn't touch the ground. The people can use without destroying the property, which is So if you get the general concept as we do these environmental studies is that long term, we're looking to utilize these lands in a safe and appropriate fashion so that all benefit without damage to these vital areas.
So the proposal is that of a public, what you're looking at is a public-private partnership where the state does get involved with a public or a private partner of some sort. Are we talking UTA
Yes.
or UT?
Well, I think you have a lot of parties involved. Certainly, UTA is going to have to be involved. UDOT's going to have to be involved. The Park Service is going to have to be involved. So is the Forest Service. They're all stakeholders, and all of the Utah counties have a vested interest in making sure this happens correctly. So there's a lot of people. So I think that part of the outreach over the next year is really getting the public to understand. Or actually express what they want to do. I mean, it's their land, okay. And so we should be able to figure that out. And so,
thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Any additional questions or comments from committee? Seeing none, Representative, does that conclude your presentation? Would you like to wrap up?
There's two ways to do things, top-down versus bottom-up. This is a bottom-up approach. We seek these funds for the primary opportunity to solicit input from the public and find out how they want to use those lands, how we can do that in a safe fashion. And this is a chance for us to look forward and actually be proactive in protecting our lands. So the second thing that we're asking for the funds for is NEPA study environmental impact aspects so that as we move forward on public use of these lands, that we're actually doing so in an environmentally protective fashion. So with that, thank you very much for your time and indulgence.
Thank you for your presentation. Appreciate you being with us this
Pleasure.
afternoon.
Thank you, Chairman's members.
Thank you. Let's move back now. Do we have a representative from the USDB? Senator Osmond was down. Would you like to come forward? Looks like we have DCM with us. Gentlemen, welcome.
Thank you.
Go ahead. Time's yours.
Do you have would it be all right if I plugged in to show you a few pictures?
I think we do have do we have the PowerPoint?
Be right here.
Go ahead. There we go. Let's see if that'll work for you.
Well, that's getting fired up. I'll introduce myself. I'm Joel Coleman, the superintendent for the Utah Schools for the Deaf and Blind. I've asked Director Haynes from DFCM if he wouldn't mind being here to nod his head that everything I tell you is absolutely true and accurate.
He'll keep an eye on you.
Well, I'm a bobblehead. No, just as a